Daf Nun Beis Amud Beis. We'll begin Nun Beis Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. Continue on with the Machlokes Rav Yehuda and the Tanakama and the different explanations of what that Machlokes is. The Gemara offers now another interpretation. Ravina Omar Beplukta Dahane Tanoi. The Tanakama and Rav Yehuda are arguing it's the same Machlokes as the following Tanoim. That's not we learned in a Braisa Eichlim Bitmorim. So it says the Snan, but the Rishonim changed it to the Tanya. We learned it in a Braisa. Eichlim Bitmorim, we can eat dates in the land of Yehuda Ad Sheyechla Archan Shebet Sayr, until the last palm trees in Sayr have been depleted. Now, as we'll see shortly in the Gemara, the Eretz Yisrael divided up into 3 regions. So when we say that it's Kolu Minasada, this is a Chayvus Biur, there's an obligation to be Mevayer, we talk about each region separately. So here we're talking about the area of Yehuda, the area of Yehuda. So we say as long as, for instance, the dates, we're talking about dates in this example, as long as dates are anywhere in Yehuda, then there's no chayvus biur. If they're no longer in Yehuda, they may be in Golil, they may be in other parts of Eretz Yisrael, but that's not relevant. We talk about each region on its own. So in Yehuda, it has to be available in the fields in the region of Yehuda. The last ones to be depleted are in the area of Tzayir. So we say you can eat the dates in Yehuda, in that region of Yehuda, until so long as there are still dates in Yehuda. But when they've been depleted in Yehuda, and the last one to be depleted at Sayr, so when there's no longer dates at Sayr, you can't eat anymore, there's a chayvus biur. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Oichlen al shebein hakipin vein oichlem al shebein hashitzen. Now when we say that they're no longer available, he says that availability only means the dates that are on the palm tree branches, the branches of the palm tree. The dates growing on the tree, the wind blows and some of them fall, and some of them fall on the branches, but some of them fall into thorns on the base of the tree. There's thorns and fall into the thorns. He says the availability is only if they're on the branches, but even if they're dates, but under the thorns, that's not called available. So that's called kolo, because the animals can't get it from the thorns. It's difficult, and they'll avoid getting it from the thorns so not to get injured. So that's not considered to be available. So he says, even though technically they're here, but it has to be accessible. And if it's not called available. So therefore, the machlokes in our Mishnah is the same as the machlokes in the Braisa. The Tanakama of our Mishnah, he holds like the Tanakama of the Braisa. He says a lashon of the Malkam Shekol. Kolu means that it's completely depleted. Now, even if it's only in the thorns, but it's still in the fields. It's not completely kolu. So therefore, he holds there's no chayvus biur. And Rav Yehuda, he holds like Rav Shimon Gamliel, and he says, no, it is considered to be depleted, because go try and bring it. You can't bring it, it's stuck among the thorns. So therefore, he holds that that is considered as to be depleted, because lamaisa, it's not accessible. And therefore, there is a chayvus biur. So that's how he explains the machlokes. Now, we discussed about the different regions, so the Gemara is going to discuss further about the different areas, the different regions where beer is naik. Tanan Hasan, we learned in a Mishnah, there are 3 lands, 3 regions for the chayvus of beer. Yehuda, Ve'var Yarden, Ve'Golil. These are the 3 regions. As we said before, that we judge each one separately. Now, if there are no dates, for instance, in Yehuda, even though, for instance, they may be in Golil, then there's still a chayvus biur, because we judge each region on its own. And each one is further subdivided into 3 regions. Why did they say that there are 3 lands for beer? Like we said, that you can eat a paris or shias in each region until, so long as it hasn't been depleted from that area. But if it's been depleted from that area, even though it's not been depleted from another area, then there is a chayvas biur. Now, as we said, that each one of these three regions is further subdivided into three other areas. Rashi explains there are the mountains, there are the plains, and there's the valleys. And Rashi explains that even though these three different areas, the mountains and the valleys, the lowlands, they have, each one becomes depleted at different times. Nevertheless, the chayvas biur is only when there is the last one, where there is a biur where it's been depleted from the very last area. So Yehuda has, for instance, one zman biur, and when it's the dates are no longer available anywhere in Yehuda. And similarly, Golel, and similarly, Eivra Yarin. For Taisus, well, if that's the case, what is the relevance of these further three subdivided areas? What difference does it make? What difference does it make if you're saying that the chayvas biur is only at the last time when it's completely depleted from each region? There seems to be no significance to the fact that it's further subdivided into three areas. Therefore, Taisa says, no. He says we judge each area on its own. For instance, you can only eat in the mountainous regions of Yehuda where there are payers available in the mountainous regions of Yehuda. There might be for instance, there might be dates in the lowlands of Yehuda, but the people in the mountains cannot eat the dates. They have to be mevar the dates if there are no dates available in the mountains, or vice versa. We judge each area on its own. Now, if there are dates available in the mountainous regions of the Golel, that's irrelevant, because the Golel is a separate area. So we judge it on both areas. You can eat only, for instance, in Yehuda, if you're in the mountainous area, only so long as you have these payers in the mountainous area of Yehuda. If you have it in the mountainous area of Golel or Eivra Yarden, that's irrelevant. Or if you have it in the lowlands of Yehuda, it's also irrelevant. And similarly, in the valleys, if you can only eat these pears if they're available, if they haven't been depleted in the valleys of Yehuda. If it's in the mountains of Yehuda, it's irrelevant, or if it's in the valleys of Golel Eivra Yarden, it's also irrelevant. That's the way Taisus learns. And the Taisus Kasha and Rashi is very difficult. It's very share. What is the point? What's the relevance of these further subdivided areas according to Rashi? The Bnei Yeshua answers as follows. As we mentioned before, there's a three-way machlokes of what biur is. What does it mean by biur? It doesn't mean that the Rambam, like the Rambam says, that means they have to be destroyed. Taisa says that it doesn't have to be destroyed. There's no purpose in destroying it. It should be mafkirit, so you make it accessible and available to all. It has to be, you have to bring it out of the house and make it available to all. The Ravid holds that we look at, there's a two-stage biur, that when it's no longer available in one particular area, you have to be mafkir, but if it's available in another area in the region, you don't have to destroy it, you just have to be mafkir. If it's no longer available anywhere in the region, you have to destroy it. And she wants to say that that's what Rashi holds. Then Rashi holds that these further three areas subdivide into three areas, meaning if there are pairs available in the region. So, for instance, in Yehuda, if there are pairs available somewhere in Yehuda, but in the mountainous areas, it's not available, then you have to be mevayer. But you don't have to destroy it. You just have to remove it. You have to be mafkir it. You don't have to destroy it. And similarly in the valleys, etc. But if there's nothing available anywhere in Yehuda, then it has to be destroyed. Similarly in Golel and Eivra Yarden. So the significance of the further subdividing it is that these further subdivided into three areas is for the first stage of biur, where you have to be mafkir it. As if it's no longer available in any of these subdivided areas, you have to be mafkir. If it's no longer available anywhere in the region, you have to destroy it. Menane mile. how do we know that you can only, in a particular region, you can only eat the pears as long as it's available in that region? But that if it's not available in the region, even though it's available in a different region, you cannot. So, for instance, how do you know that in Yehuda, if it's not available in Yehuda, even though it's available in Golul Iver Yarden, you have to be Mevayer? Amar Rav Chama Bar Ukva, Amar Rav Yesi Bar Chanin, Amar Kro, the Pasuk says, Ve'levehemtecha, ve'lachaya asher ba'artzecha. It should be the produce of Shvias for you and the animals, the behemoths and the chayas in your land. So we darshan, it has to be available for your behemoths and for the chayas. Kolzman shechaya cholzman asoda, as long as it's available for the wild animals in the fields, then hachal behemoth b'bayis, you can feed it to your animals or to yourselves in your house. But kol lachaya shebesoda, when it's no longer available for the chay in the fields, kol behemoth min abayis, then you have to remove it from your house. So it has to be accessible, it has to be available. Ugemiri, and we have a Kabbalah, the Ein Chaya Shebeyehuda Gedela Persha Begola. And we know that the Chaya in Yehuda is not going to go and roam so far and to feed itself from the parents that are in Gola. So if it's no longer in Yehuda, then it's not available to the Chayas. It's considered to be Kola, because the fact that it might be in Gola, it's not going to go there. So therefore it's not accessible, so it's not relevant. And vice versa. So therefore it's column. Tona Rabbanan, we learned in the Brisa, Perish also Eretz Yisrael Chutz La'aretz, Perish that left Eretz Yisrael and went to Chutz La'aretz Mizbarim B'chol Makom Shehein. They don't have to be brought back to Eretz Yisrael. You can do biur wherever it is, wherever you took it to. But Rabbi Shem ben Elazar Amar Yachzeh leMekaymen v'Yizbaro. He says no, it has to be brought back to Eretz Yisrael, and you have to do biur in Eretz Yisrael. Mishum shenemar ba'artzecha. It says in your land, and it says therefore it has to be for the animals and the chayas, and it has to be lebehemtecha v'lchayasher ba'artzecha. Therefore, you have to be mavared in your land. This is one of the rayas that Tzesis brings, that biur means to be mafkir, because it has to make it available to the animals in your land. So if it's destroying, so what's the difference if it's being destroyed in a Chutz La'aretz or destroyed in Eretz Yisrael? From the fact that you have to bring it back to Eretz Yisrael, and we dash because it says it has to be available for them. That means you're being mafkir. So that's how we darshan. He darshans that you have to bring it back to Eretz Yisrael. What do you mean? But we already darshan this to teach you that there are shalosh harotzos lebiur, that it has to be accessible to the animals in your land, in your region, and the fact that it's available in a different region is not considered accessible. Our answer is Karibay, Baretz, Baretzecha. But we have two drashas, because it doesn't have to say Baretz, and even if it does, it could say Baretz, it doesn't have to say Baretzecha. You darshan two things. Inami Ma'asher Baretzecha, we darshan it from the Asher, the word Asher. Rosafra Nafak Eretz Yisrael Chutz La'aretz. He went from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. Hava b'hadei gar b'nechamra d'shvius. He had a barrel of wine that was from shvius, from the grapes of shvius. Lava b'hadei Rav Huna b'rei Reika Rav Kahana. He was accompanied by Rav Huna, the son of Rav Ika, and Rav Kahana Amar Lahu. So he said, the Rav Safra said to them, Ika deshmila minei d'Rababo. Does anyone heard from Rababo? Halach Rav Shimon ben Elazar oiloi. Is what's the halach? Is the halach of Rav Shimon ben Elazar or not? Do we have to bring it back to Eretz Yisrael for biur or not? Amalei Rav Kahani said, Hachim Rababo halach Rav Shimon ben Elazar. He said that's halacha. Amrle Rav Huna b'rei Rav Ika, he said, Hachim Rabbo ain't a halach Rav Shimon ben Elazar. He said that's not the halach. Amar Safra, he said, Nekaid haklala de Rav Huna beyadcha. He said, follow the opinion of Rav Huna, that the halacha is not like Rav Shimon ben Elazar. The daik v'gomer shmaitzim mipuma derabe, because he was very careful, and he was very careful to be medaik exactly what his Rebbe said. Kirachba the pumadisa, just like Rachba was so careful, and he also was medaik the exact words of his Rebbe. So therefore, we can rely on Rav Huna. We can rely, and that the halacha is not like Rav Shimon ben Elazar, and you do not have to bring it back to Eretz Yisrael. What is the case of Rachba and Pumadisa that we see he was medayik so much? Because Amar Rachba, Amar Rav Yehuda, Rachba said in the name of Rav Yehuda, Harabayas, Stav Kavfalhaya. He said the Harabayas was surrounded with in the walls of the Harabayas there were double rows of benches. They had benches, a double row of benches, and that had roofs on them, and they were roofed benches. And that's where people sat and got protected from the rain. So he said it was stiv kofalaya, stiv lefnim stiv, and it was a stav lefnim stiv. It was one row within the other row of benches. So why do we see over here? How do we see that he was medayik so much? Because normally the Mishnah refers to the lashon of benches as it's the boz, not stav. Here he used the lashon of stav because he did it away. He was makbid to repeat it exactly the way that he heard it. So you see that he's makbid. Kare ala Rav Yosef. So Rav Safra, he followed Rav Huna's opinion. There was mekel. So Rav Yosef applied the following pasuk. Ami be'etza yishol makli yagidlei. So the Navi says about the Kol Yisrael that they follow the wood, the sticks, the Avodah Zorah, the idols that they make for Avodah Zorah. But he uses the lashon of makli yagidlei. So he darshaned on it, a play on the words called hamekel loi. Everyone who is mekel for him, magidlei, and that person, he gives his askama to that person. So he gave his askama to Rav Huna, who was mekel. Called hamekel loi magidlei. Rabbi Eloi cuts kafnaisa shias. Rabbi Eloi chopped down a palm tree during the Shemitah year. It had date berries, and he chopped it down. Now, stam is a side point, aside from the shias problem, which the more we'll discuss shortly. But we know that we cannot cut down fruit trees. How did he cut down a fruit tree? So one teretz given is mutter, where the value of the wood is more than the fruit, and that would be the case here. Or alternatively, when there's only a very, very minimal amount of fruit on the tree, then it's mutter. So, but Aklopanami he chopped down the date tree on Shvias. How can he cut it down on Shvita and the Shvias? The Torah says that it should be in the Shemitah year for eat, not to destroy. So how can he cut down the tree? Well, maybe you'll say that's only when the fruit has ripened. But when it hasn't ripened, then it wouldn't be aser. And here we're talking when it was only berries and not ripened. He said, he said, the maschale d'orla. What are these? These are the husks that cover the dates that surround the dates, are protecting it, that are covering it. He says they have a din of orla. Why is that? Because they protect the fruit. They're a shomer to a pri, and the shomer of pri has a din like a pri. So therefore, they also have the isser of orla of the first 3 years of growth. Now, v'shomer leperi emas have. When is it these maschale of the arla? When is it at what point are they a shomer? At what stage are they a shomer? Emas have bekufre, when the dates are small and not ripe. Before the dates ripen, they fall off. So they're only a shomer in the unripe stage. V'kakarla peri, and it's called peris. They have orla on it. So you see that even unripe fruit is also called fruit, and therefore there should be the problem of shvias, and it should be l'ach v'loy lahefsed. More answers, Rav Nachman Adam Rav Yossi. He holds like Rav Yossi, this non Rav Yossi Aimer smaller also mipnei shuperi. So it says in the Mishnah that Rav Yossi says smodar is also because it's a peri. And the smodar, which means that it's in the buds, it's in the grapes, the grape bud, is also on account of orla because it's also considered a fruit. Upligi rabbanan la. That's the shita of Rav Yossi. He holds the unripe fruit is considered a fruit. Even the buds are considered a fruit. But the Rabbanan argue with Rav Yossi, and they don't consider it to be a fruit. And therefore, the Rabbanan, and that's the Roy, do not consider it to be a fruit, and therefore he held that you can cut it down. Rav Eloi cut down the tree because he held, like the Rabbanan, who held that at this stage it's not considered to be a fruit, and therefore the Isser of La'achla V'Loi Lahefsed is not applicable.